Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Convin Conversations. I'm your host, Ashish Santhalia, CEO of Convin, and today we are diving into a very crucial topic: how financial services are scaling digital engagement with AI and automation. We are joined by a very special guest, Manish Ahuja, Head of Digital and Direct Business at Aditya Birla Sun Life Insurance. With over multiple decades of experience leading digital transformation initiatives across top organizations like 3M India, MetLife, and ICICI Prudential, Manish has been instrumental in shaping the impact of the digital customer journeys into the insurance space. Today, we will explore the evolving digital landscape in insurance, the role of AI, and how the future of customer interactions look like. Welcome, Manish. Great to have you on the call.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashish. It's a pleasure for me in order to be here on your podcast.
Absolutely. So, Manish, before we get into the main discussion, which is generally the larger discussion, usually people love to know about our guests. How did they come to this stage? What did they do in life earlier? And, what are they leading today? I have seen immense amount of lifeline spectrums across multiple people that I've spoken to. Somebody who's doing almost very different thing today is maybe leading the complete sales of a very properly global organization. I would love to know your journey maybe in that way, and then, so that our audience can relate to it, and then we can deep dive into the longer discussion.
To begin off with, let me take back. You're taking me way back. I started my career way back in about 99. The moment I was a fresh out of an MBA, I did an MBA from a very normal college based out of Ghaziabad. I started with my first job was with Berger Paints. I still remember my first salary. It was close to about 1.8 odd lakhs, if I recall it correctly. And I remember I used to live in Ghaziabad, used to travel to Okhla for that particular job.
Sure.
Being the first job, I think it came with a lot of experiences. I still remember people loved the movies. So I still remember my second day at the office and my boss in this same way of rocket sings, wearing that windshield ulta and then sitting on a bike and going for a dealer's call. So that was my first meeting with the dealer over there, especially on the paint business. The moment we reached to that paint dealership, we were sitting on those paint dabbas discussing about how the future of paint is all about, what are the new kind of products that we are launching, and why him buying Birla is more important than giving preference to, say, ICI paints or Asian paints for that matter. And these used to be our biggest competitors at that point of time.
Yeah.
It was quite an interesting start that I had. I joined them as a sales officers, and over the years, I stayed them for about 1.5 odd year. And the biggest learning that I got in my first job was that relationships are important, and the way you need to build them up will always help you while you move forward in your careers. The second thing was that your daily diligence, the daily working that whether it is a sales guy or it is an operations guy, need to bring into your overall self in order to be there on the job for the year. So target doesn't matter. It is just that, if you keep on doing things which you love daily, results are bound to happen. So I started with Berger Paints, grew within the system, cracked one of the biggest accounts for them. Then I moved on to a company called 3M. 3M, as you know, is the most innovative company. As part of their automotive aftermarket divisions, launched the car detailing program, which people love it. As of now, I was handling the entire Delhi as well as the UP belt for them. Grown over there, then as you know, while you are young and you are building up your career, you always want to get into a man management kind of a role.
True.
And there the deal strike, and I was fortunate enough in order to get into a company called Kingfisher. I have sold beer for almost 6 months. Unfortunately, I was not enjoying the regulated environment that the liquor industry brings about. So from there, I didn't stay for long. I was there only for about 6 months. I was one of their youngest BSMs that they used to call it, branch sales managers. I was heading their entire upper north, was based out of Chandigarh, based out of Ludhiana, handling Chandigarh, Himachal, Punjab, as well as J&K for them. At that point of time, the sunrise sector insurance was coming up, and I decided to move on to ICICI Prudential. Blessed enough, within ICICI, I was got promoted from just being a sales manager, became the regional manager. From there, I went on to MetLife, becoming a general manager. And for the last 17 years, I've been there with Birla, Aditya Birla Sun Life Insurance. It used to be called Birla Sun Life Insurance earlier. It got renamed a few years back. So now I am currently the the business head for multiple businesses at Aditya Birla Life Insurance.
Hmm.
I started my career in Aditya Birla with dealing with only the agency channel, which was DSF as we call it, direct sales force,
Yeah.
which is primarily building and distribution through recruiting advisors. But over the years, in last 5 years, I've handled the digital marketing piece. I've handled the direct marketing. We have now the partnership office within us. We have the web and the institutional business that I manage. So there are close to about six odd businesses that I manage within the firm now. And it has been quite an interesting journey so far.
Yeah. So you have seen the complete spectrum of offline and online, offline
Yes.
customer journeys, the buying habits, behaviors, what do they really like, not like, versus then moving everything into the online behavior, both of these spectrums, right? How
Yes.
how different are these two things?
See, generations are changing. And when you see generation changing, I mean, typically the business have to speak to the newer self.
Yeah.
While you can segment your customers into multiple cohorts in terms of demographics, in terms of the behaviors that are emerging onto the ground, but logically you have to be appealing to the TG means the target market that you want to address into.
Hmm.
So while your customers are getting younger, the firms also need to be speaking to the customers in the right perspective on which, in the way they want to be approached, that they want to be addressed.
Yeah.
So the firms always need to take care of the consumers before they start thinking only about their internal system process and so forth. So it's all a matter of strategic choices that you make during the course while you shift your horizon from dealing with different TGs as you move forward.
Fair point. And I'm assuming that this entire digital journey for you started with MetLife in more of a leadership position where you started looking into building customer experiences and journeys with MetLife, and then probably it has continued with ABSL now. Is that correct?
Not really. I think it started way back, even in my first job with Berger Paints, because at that point of time, if you recall, systems, the computers were actually getting in, a lot of accounting
Yeah.
systems were getting transformed, the sales systems were getting placed, the ordering system was shifting.
Mhm.
So every single company, I mean, the way tech has now taken up, it
Yeah.
has been the stepwise process which has happened over the years. So
Hmm.
at one stage you were using, I mean, ERP used to be like, wow, what we have arrived. And suddenly now you see those new age systems, the new age apps which have started coming in. So tech has transformed over the years and led to what it is now. And while we look back, I mean, 5 years down the line, you never know. I mean, the tech would have transformed a lot of even the new systems that we use as of now.
Correct.
So
Correct.
it's a ever evolving journey which is going on.
Got it. And do you feel that insurance as a vertical, because that's where you have, like, I'm sure you've done great work there already. So insurance as a specific industry domain demands a very specific kind of customer journey, which has also evolved over the period in time. Because insurance is one of the most important things people buy for themselves. As far as I can remember, initially the trend of buying insurance was very little. Now people have been more knowledgeable about buying insurance, all types of insurances, and then that's increasing over the period in time. So do you see the insurance as an industry having a need of a very carefully crafted customer journey, evolving faster than other verticals in general?
So in my opinion, I mean, I'll be very candid. Insurance is all about trust.
Okay.
Trust, as you know, by definition, is primarily your credibility, your consistency, and the intimacy that you have with the consumer, divided by the self-orientation that people bring on the table.
Hmm.
When you talk about credibility, I think there's a lot of transformation which is required in terms of ensuring that you are right and you deliver what you promise all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Consistent. Humans will make errors. I mean,
Yeah.
and the more the tech gets deployed, the chances of errors keeps on reducing. The way,
Mm.
I mean, the algos run, so on and so forth. And being consistent always means that the customer is getting the same kind of experience all the time. He's
Mm.
not being cheated. There is no ego of a person. There is no probably of a, you can say, the lethargy of any human which is getting into picture while he's being served, or is that being made on a roll basis.
Mm.
So there is a lot of trust which gets built up over the corporates in case they are delivering the promise that they have made consistently and credibly.
Mm. Got it. And if I remember the trend, Manish, before 2010, a lot of it was driven by a lot of customer engagement in insurance industry or vertical would be driven by phone calls at some
Yes.
point in time, right? Uh, and if we go even beyond that, it probably would be field sales at some point in time. happening field engagements with the customer, then probably shifted to phone, then probably I think somewhere between 2000, I would say 12 to 20 or something between that. That was more of other channels like SMS, WhatsApp, those kind of things. And now probably a lot of chatbot and all of those things have come in, right? Am I right on the evolution of customer journey in terms of insurance industry, focusing on that, or there are other things that I have missed which would be relevant for people to know?
You are absolutely bang on. It is just that majority of the selling process used to happen only primarily through the agents, like the LIC model that you have seen so
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
LIC has close to more than about 40 lakh odd agents that they were serving to the consumers, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
Largely the servicing part of the entire phenomenon. Like, for example, once you have purchased the policy, the renewal collection, everything earlier was being done by the agents or the banker team, the bank insurance pieces or the banks that came across along the journey. But majority of the developments on the tech side started from the servicing part. So
Yeah.
persistency was the first, then came a lot of processes which changed the claim experience, then
Mm,
started a lot of process which started changing the onboarding experience, then came a
mm,
lot of process which started changing a lot of customer service requirement. Like, for example, even a very simple thing like a nominee change, so on and so forth. So for
mm.
that, earlier people used to go back to the offices, get the manual request submitted. The guy sitting on the other side of the system will enter it, and then things are getting up. Now everything is more on DIY. You can do it
Yeah.
yourself, and typically the portfolio statements, anything and everything that you require to know about the policy is largely available on the hand. The second biggest transformation which has happened is on the payment front, because
Mm,
earlier it used to be majority of the check systems.
yeah.
Then came the net banking system, which we
Yeah.
started again. Usse bhi pehle there used to be like the cash used to be the king.
Yeah.
Now things are now transformed into a place wherein UPI is seriously changing the game. Almost, I mean, the way the number of transactions these days are which are happening on UPI are crazy, and so is the change which is coming on for the insurance companies now.
Got it. And if I drive the entire customer journey into, let's say, four buckets, thinking just from the customer's perspective, first bucket would be acquisition of the customer. The second bucket would be onboarding of the customer. The third bucket would be support. And then the fourth bucket would be renewal and everything on that side, right? I'm not putting claims at this point in
Yeah.
time. Maybe we can look at the fifth bucket as well, which is claims. Which bucket do you see have seen the rapid transformation in the last like 5 years, where a lot of change has happened? Probably the face of the entire process has changed.
All of them.
All of them.
All of them. Like, for example, a very simple acquisition of the customer,
Hmm.
which used to be physical only. Now, a lot of places we do performance marketing. We have a lot of our people using a lot of lead generation exercises in order to get onto that. The telecalling while they're fixing up the appointments, the entire acquisition space has changed over there. In
Hmm.
terms of the onboarding, the entire journeys now have become digital. There is no manual forms that get printed. And you just imagine version getting changed, you're changing almost 10,000 forms every 3 months in order to be sent to those branches. So all that has gone off long back.
Yeah.
Coming on to the third space of underwriting, I mean, the entire rule engines have changed. They have become
Yeah.
more systematic in terms of the approach. There is no less of human intervention which is required in order to now issue
True.
policies. They are CKYC, so on and so forth during the onboarding experience. They are all becoming more digital oriented. Last
True.
leg, of course, the servicing part is something which has seen a lot of transformations, like we
Mhm.
just spoke about persistency, or in terms of the normal requests that customers have in order to change. They all
Mm.
have changed over the years.
Hmm. And then most of these changes have been become digital. It's basically
Yes.
going from physical to digital, right? That's the larger theme of the changes that.
Your world has got changed with a simple device on your hand, and it is actually changing the world.
Yeah,
Everything
absolutely.
and anything and everything is there on the mobile, whether it is your lead management system, or it is your onboarding experiences, or it is your service apps. Everything is there on the mobile now.
Absolutely. And with this whole scaling, when this whole scaling goes into the digital mode or the digital interactions mode, this is generally a massive challenge for people to shift. I am sure that you have, with your long experience at Aditya Birla, you have already seen that kind of shift happening. Right? It's not just that you were a part of it, you were basically leading that change, right? So how challenging was it? If you can give us some sense of your journey in that aspect, how challenging was it? How did you go through it? That would be great.
Anything which is very customer friendly and comes with a lot of advantage has a very high propensity to get picked up in just a click. Like, for example, onboarding was the easiest one to get sale through because people were getting pissed off with the problems that they used to get with the forms.
Sure.
Anything which requires a lot of effort wherein governance is required, like for example, lead management system. Sales guys generally are kind of lazy people. They don't want to fill in a lot of requests or they don't want to be checked whether they have gone on calls or not. It was
Yeah.
the one difficult kind of a implementation wherein we had to get along in order to put in a lot of governance behind things getting changed from physical forms to digital forms. So that is another leg of the experience that we got.
Mhm.
But I think if you're the asset that you develop, in case it is user friendly and it solves his day-to-day hassles in a much better way, the
Mm.
chances of adoption are far more easier and better. The
Mm.
more there are difficulties or barriers which are in terms of the implementation and people don't see value in it, it will be always a difficult challenge in order to get the adoption done. So for
Mm.
me, it is always, I mean, before, and my recommendation to all the people who are there into development field is always about think about audience or the user which is going to use that app. Don't think it from the person who is creating it,
Mm.
because the person who is creating it is in always there in love with what he has created.
Yeah,
In
true.
case it is not of the use for the last mile guy, it is as good as not being used. I mean, it is good as you can call it a trash.
Got it. Yeah. And you're absolutely right also. So I'm sure when you were leading this change of, moving from a physical activity kind of customer experience journey to a digital activity or digital first customer experience journey for your entire business lines, where did you get the most pushback on? Where customers were not adopting it initially because there was a lot of maybe obstacle or issues in between, and then slowly now customers have adopted it over the period in time.
So I tell you over the case, like for example, I was talking about the lead management system for our internal customer, which is our
Yeah,
sales guy.
yeah, yeah.
It had one of the most difficult phase because the product
Sure.
was excellent. It is a SaaS software which is getting implemented. You're able
Yeah.
to see your leads. You're able to see do the follow up, so on and so forth. The only hiccup that it gets is sales guys. The moment he puts in an entry, he thinks he's being checked.
Yeah.
So it is more to do with the mindset that needs to be handled. In
Yeah.
terms of the consumers, while I look back, I mean, if you're made an asset which is really too much heavy in terms of doing a lot of work at the customer end,
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
difficult sell.
Okay.
Customers
Okay.
must generally like things which are simpler, which are more, I mean, easy to be simpler as well as faster, which will solve their current day-to-day problems rather than making them some kind of roadblocks or barriers in order to get into. They are the difficult ones to scale through. Of late, what we have also observed is that the moment you are asking for too many information these days because of those fraud calls, cyber attacks, so on and so forth, people are getting a lot
Yeah.
of cautious in terms of getting into the engagement that they do digitally. So whether it
Hmm.
is the transfer or any kind of app which needs to be downloaded, so they are extremely getting careful over the days. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to be very cognizant of that particular fact and accordingly design your own programs as you move forward.
And do you already see a bucket where there is a huge amount of scope where a lot of change can still be brought upon? Any specific bucket in terms of acquisition, onboarding, support, retention, or maybe claims?
So in my opinion, insurance is still not reached where it can be.
Okay.
Ideally, I mean, if I'm applying for a policy, I deserve to get a policy within 30 seconds,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? That is a future and it is not far off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is something which typically the end-to-end program for the entire policy buying journey to, I mean, deciding to the end servicing should
Hmm.
not be that longer. And all those kind of algos, the rule engines, today or tomorrow will start getting built into the system and you will see that phase coming up. We did one of the experiments with the policy with a few years back, a
Hmm.
couple of years back. Unfortunately, the dependencies on the third-party softwares is pretty high. So
Yeah.
that way, I think with the architecture getting developed across third parties also, I'm
Hmm.
sure that those days are not far off.
Hmm. And do you see that with the kind of experience you run with, do you see that acquisition as the first bucket where customers get into a lot of analysis paralysis about what policy to buy, too many competitions, people offering similar prices? Most of the people, like myself, also are not properly educated about the benefits and cons of the policies, right? Do you see that that kind of sort of hampers the entire customer experience in terms of buying the policy? A lot of policy buying is delayed usually because of too much abundance of information, not picking up the right information. And anything specific that you have done to really solve for it, that'd be great help for people to know.
So while we were thinking about, in terms of the choices that you make, there are certain things which are barriers in order to take a decision. So
Hmm.
the barriers in the minds of the consumer while he's buying a policy is, am I not being cheated? Is it
Yeah.
really required?
Yeah.
Will I use that even in my life? Because this is all about, generally, well, the perception of the insurance policy is that my family will use it, I'll not be the user of that. So all those, with education coming in and with a lot of information which is flowing in, these things have started coming down now. So for
Hmm.
example, term is something which now people have started feeling that they require, come what may.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is becoming more of over-the-counter product.
Hmm.
The people, what they want to compare is in terms of the pricing, in terms of the claim ratios that they have, and generally the decisions are being made.
Hmm. Hmm.
Unfortunately, it is wrong on our manufacturer's part also, because it is the nature of the product that these products are slightly complex in terms of the fine lines that need to be built in while making the insurance policy.
Yeah.
But with what getting smarter, the insurance policies are bound to get more and more simpler, thereby leading to a easy decision making at the end of the consumer.
Fair point. Fair point. Yeah, that makes sense also. And with all of this changing, right, in 2023, we all of us got introduced to this new kind of technology, large language models or chat GPT, right, as most people know generally about it. AI is actually becoming a critical pillar of personalizing this entire customer journey that we talked about, right? The 5, 6 buckets that we have. Where do you see this AI creating most valuable impact today? Can AI truly personalize acquisition and servicing touch points, or do you see any different impact of AI from here?
AI started hitting almost every single word of ours.
Okay.
And it is imperative. You will be called a fossil in case you don't learn it. It is as simple as that now.
Yeah.
And the way internet changed the world about 20, 25 years back, AI is about to change the world. It has already started changing the amount of development exponentially which are happening over the years. It's crazy now.
Yeah.
Coming on to very specifics onto life insurance, we have already started using a lot of AI in terms of how we teach our people.
Okay.
Because there are series of insurance policies, we have been operating for almost last 25 odd years.
Yeah.
And it is no brainer that any single individual can remember all the features, benefits of any insurance policy being sold in the past.
True. True.
So AI can easily solve that up. And
Mhm.
we have developed those bots which are actually helping now the people at the ground, which are learning on their own in terms of giving the right kind of answers which are required, which are being asked by the consumers, or which are required in order to do a proper servicing or a sales for that matter.
Yeah.
Similarly, while you see the way onboarding or the acquisition is going, AI is more intuitive. And typically, the more the learning which is emerging in terms of the data getting fed in, the responses are getting much more sharper, much more better for the end of the consumer. So
Yeah.
that way, the lot of transformation journey which I've already started, and I'm sure it is just the start. The world is about to change, or it has started changing for better now.
Absolutely. It sort of reminds me of the first point that you mentioned, that insurance is a lot about trust, right? And traditionally, Manish, that trust has been being built by speaking to the customers directly. So some human would be speaking to the customer. That's how they would get that trust that, okay, this is a high value purchase. For Indian households, generally insurance is a high value purchase that they do generally, right? And then, they want to have that kind of trust before purchasing the insurance. Even if they are trying to have claim or something, they're looking for that kind of trust. Do you see with AI coming into picture, this whole impact of or whole need of human intervention in acquisition, claim, or different buckets across will keep on reducing? And do you see a future where AI can take over completely without need of human intervention? For example, as a buyer, I would not need to speak to a human. I'll have enough trust to buy the insurance myself.
Yes, why not? It's like it's a journey. It is not going to happen from the day one.
Hmm.
But of course, today or tomorrow, the more. Like, for example, before COVID, like the way we are speaking virtually, it
Yeah.
used to be like, we used to only call up our friends abroad on Skype and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. But
Yeah.
now, virtual is a reality. And
Yeah.
whether the COVID is there or not there, in the last 5 years, the world has transformed altogether.
Yeah.
Similarly, in the insurance space, like, for example, I just spoke about LIC having 14 lakh agents and people used to buy from them itself.
Yeah.
Those kind of transformation has already started happening towards, like, for example, Policy Bazaar. You usually go on to the account, compare all the list of policies that are available from across the companies, and take a decision basis the information which is available.
Yeah.
In case you want to speak to the agents, currently they are humans, and the way these days you see the AI chatbots, the way voice bots are coming, you will
Yeah.
not even realize you are not speaking to a non-human, or you're speaking to a machine. So
Fair point.
that experience is going to be enriched so much. You'll feel like you are doing the same thing. It's just that, you can't have a touch and feel, but largely it's the same experience that you're getting. Or in fact, even better, because humans might make mistakes. The
Hmm.
algos which I've learned over the years with billions of data flowing
They will
around,
not make mistakes.
they will not make those kind of mistakes.
Yeah.
And it
So
will not
you
depend on their mood, tonality, so on and so forth. Then you expect a decent voice giving the right kind of advice, so that trust will automatically get built over the years.
Fair point. So yeah, you're saying that it will not happen today, but there is high likeliness that it can happen over the period in time, given the capability of the tech, because the trust then will be created with those digital systems as well. Because
Yes.
those digital systems will be able to answer those questions in the right possible way, just like a human does, maybe better than human, right? Over the period in time.
Yes, absolutely.
Fair point. Fair point. And in insurance compliance, customer and trust are everything, right? Have you specifically doubled down on the use cases of misselling? How do you remove those misselling? Have you tried to figure out how AI can resolve misselling and other things as well? Generally, it was a very important, and I would say very an issue. I was speaking to some other person in the insurance who have been there for about 20 years there. They said that insurance misselling is a huge issue in general. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I take you on a call center space wherein
Sure.
a lot of calls are being made to the consumers, and
Yeah.
generally customers are referring to what they are buying, what is being referred to. We have close to about 325 odd callers sitting out of our offices, calling up multiple people, and those discussions are happening day in day out basis.
Mhm.
For any human, in order to check all those calls, is next to impossible, because every caller, in case they are making close to about 20 odd decent calls with 100 being dialed, you never
Yeah.
know which call is the one wherein any kind of mistakes are happening. So that way we have started deploying tech. We have got the speech analytics wherein any single script which has been given to the caller is being followed to the T. So we get
Hmm.
the lead scores, so on and so forth, so that any kind of errors that the human greed or human lethargy might bring in can first of all be catered to. The second thing is there is new tech which has started coming in terms of the AI assist that we call it.
Yeah.
Based on the personas of the consumer, the objections that he's putting in, it gives them pitches in order to the sales guy in order to speak and give the right kind of the answers which are required by for the query resolution.
Hmm.
So that way, even if you are not aware about a particular thing, the AISs will give you that this is the question asked, these are the likelihood of the answers that he's looking forward to, and you should ask for more clarification. You should ask these more questions in order to get the complete clarity on what the customer is referring to.
Mhm.
That way, these days, tech are getting more and more smarter in order to catch I call them the outliers. Reselling generally is those outlier kind of concept, because if you see the data, if you study the patterns rightly, you will come to know that these are the places where there are likelihood of chances of a complaint or some abnormality which could have been there. So that way it becomes easier in order to get onto those tracks and start dealing with these people in a different. Either it could be some resolved through training or to resolved through the code of conduct exercises, as we call it. So that way, there's a lot which is being done, and I'm sure it is just the tip of the iceberg. There is still a lot of work which need to be done in that particular space.
Fair point. Fair point. And you spoke about voice bot, the AI phone call systems generally. Initially, it was more of an IVR system. Now it has evolved to two directional or bi-directional conversation system as well. Do you think that these AI powered phone calls can meaningfully improve customer outreach, collections, or maybe experience of the customer in general, while maintaining the same level of empathy, efficiency over the period in time?
It is going crazy these days, and you don't need. I mean, how many languages can you teach one particular guy?
Yeah.
Hindi, English, maximum one more regional language.
Yeah.
These
True.
AI bots are like, they are operating at scales. At a single moment, you can reach out to not less than 10,000 customers in one go. So the
Hmm.
kind of scale and the efficiency and the standardization that they bring in
Yeah.
is actually what was the requirement of the field.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it has actually transformed the world as we look at it. And
Mm.
and it is based because it is based on particular algos and the basis information is being controlled at the central stage, the chances of errors are marginalized.
True.
So
True.
that way it is not human, but it is not no less than human also for that matter.
And even the training of the agents, making sure that they are moving in the right direction, as you already mentioned about monitoring that you're already, let's say, doing right. All of this becomes super helpful with AI and super, useful in general, right? Which are the other edges and threads.
So, as I spoke about standardization, with
Yeah.
humans, it is very, very, very difficult in order to bring in standardization of any conversation. Our
Yeah.
attrition rates at call centers are crazy. Though in-house, I mean, we still have tried to control it, but still people keep changing. And
Yes.
the way every single new guy it comes with his own personal and the old biases that are there. It takes
Mm-hmm.
first of all time in order to remove them, then keep on, I mean, unlearn them, then keep on teaching them in terms of how to improvise, keep on learning on how to speak to the consumer, but it takes a lot of time. With
Yeah.
AI, it is like you're teaching the algos and it is getting better day by day, hour by hour, with every single digital experience or the transaction which is happening on the ground is actually learning in order to make it better in the
Yeah.
next. So
Yeah.
that way it is exponential growth and it is not just one incremental thing that could have happened in life of the manager over there.
Actually, yes. And then it is like also improving 10x every year. I'm
Yes.
assuming, the way that the pace has changed from 2023 to now in last 2 years. At least I am generally personally expecting more than 10x growth every year in terms of how things improve a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
And do you see a specific next big trend coming in terms of AI, where you see, at least in the insurance industry, where you think that things will change a lot going forward?
As we were discussing all the four core categories, things
Yeah.
are working on all those four and things are actually changing. I'm very bullish on things becoming much more simpler, faster, and accurate. So at
Hmm.
the same time, so these three will be the mantras as we develop in terms of the new age tech. People
Hmm.
will get much more smarter. People will be more demanding. So tech will be the one enabler which will help us reach to the consumers in the right perspective and solve the needs that are ever changing and emerging.
Fair point. Fair point. Before we close the conversation for today, I would love to get your key takeaway in terms of what you want to share with our listeners who are trying to build, let's say, in the insurance space only, about scaling the digital interactions. Obviously, in the context of how AI is evolving, would love to have that takeaway from you.
In my opinion, in all my life, and it is not just over the years that we've seen digital transformation, I
Mhm.
think knowledge of your consumer is the
Mhm.
biggest thing that can change your firm or you change your life. If
Okay.
you know about your consumers and you are able to cater to the needs, the ever-changing demands which are emerging,
Hmm.
it will help you design your programs, your transformations, your business models, which
Hmm.
actually cater to the consumers. So your first thinking has to be the consumer more than anything else. Forget about resources, forget about the tech, forget about anything. First, keep in mind what helps consumers in order to be happy,
Yeah.
and largely your business models, your tech, your the new age apps or the AI that you want to cater to should speak in all in one language, that is to make your consumers happy.
Interesting. So it should be more about who you are selling to, what makes their life easier, right? And then designing the rest of the processes and systems and technology around it, right? Not the other way around.
Not the other way around. You always need to cater to the consumer for which you have been hired. If you
Hmm.
are not catering to him, whether it is internal or external, you have not done your job.
And is that one of the biggest mistakes you have seen people doing who are trying to build these systems in generally?
Yes and no. I mean, you will see a lot of firms. I mean, say for example, you go to Starbucks, you always have the best of the experience. I mean, and there are companies which have been built largely basis the consumer needs.
Yeah.
Apple changed it. They were extremely successful on it. And majority of the companies that you see in today's age world are the one who have thought consumer first more than anything.
Hmm.
It is never the other way around. And there are firms which probably have been ignorant about consumers, whether it is your transformation. I mean, the Nokia is the recent example, or Kodak was the earlier one. You see a lot of those kind of case studies that you come across with.
Yeah.
I mean, it is only the you fail when you don't stop thinking about the consumer and the way they are changing.
True, true. And most of the time, I have seen people trying to think of tech first, saying that, hey, look, this is a tech, let's go and incorporate it, rather than thinking about whether this solves the customer problem in the right way or not. That probably should take the precedence.
It is a cool way. These days, I mean, looking at the new tech and trying to use it, it is definitely the new cool age demand of Gen Z. And whether it is solved or not, it does not solve, comes at a later stage. People think that we will transform at a later stage, but I think I'll call it a mix of both. But in my humble request to everyone who is listening to the podcast, think about consumer. Your chances of success are far more higher and better.
Great. Thanks, Manish. Thanks for these extremely meaningful insights. So that's a wrap for the episode for Convin Conversations. A huge thank you to you for sharing such valuable insights on scaling digital insurance engagement and the future of generally AI-powered customer journeys, which are going to follow through. Very, very helpful. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into AI and digital transformation. Until next time, signing off.